No, Steiny. He had an appointment, and I'm with Shaq and Kobe. Kobe and Shaq. It's time for the crossover with Willard and Dibs. And we kind of went college radio with, today was about just moment in sports because the Miracle on Ice, Dibs was 44 years ago today.
Man.
I don't know where I was, Willard. I didn't front. But I have other items to where I know where I was at for the catch.
You said 44 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I was 5.
Okay, well, there you go.
No.
Where were you?
Yeah, boy. I was
there?
Man.
Yeah, he was Al Michaels.
Steiny was in the dorm
color
room
analyst,
watching.
actually.
Okay.
Yeah, I was chain smoking somewhere, Goo. I was an
When you
old
can
man.
smoke anywhere and everywhere.
I don't remember watching it live. I don't think it was on live out here. It was on tape delay, and I was at the Fulton's house. Shout out
The Fultons.
Larry Fulton and Sister Mo, rest in peace, and Chris and Mike, their kids. They were renting a house in San Anselmo, and for some reason I found my way over there in 1980. So I must have been 11 and a half at that point. I remember watching it back on tape delay and thinking, nothing about it because I wasn't a big hockey guy. And the Olympics, whatever. And then you watch it and you realize that this is actually something special. And then they win and you realize, oh my God, that's history right there.
So because I know Mr. Tom Willard, God rest his soul, Dwayne Dibley, if I asked you to,
Say that in the right order. You made it sound like my dad was dead.
No.
He's very
I wanted
much
to let the
us.
people I know pops for both of my guys here.
Yes.
What's a moment for you in sports that you remember where you were at, time, stop, Goo? If you ask me that point blank range, I can give you, because mine was the catch. I was heartbroken. My mom had, God rest her soul, lasagna waiting for me. We thought we had won.
I know. I hate that you were heartbroken and like the greatest moment in all of our lives.
I'm being real.
I know. No, I love that. I'm glad that you. Oh my! Well, there's 1,000 of them.
Yeah, but one.
So many.
Give us one.
I'll give. I will. What's the first one? Here, give me a second to think about it. What's the first one that pops out to you?
As far as like watching on TV?
Yeah,
or
just like that was a moment. Wow.
probably watching the Gibson. You mentioned it earlier. And
I'll never forget it.
When Gibson goes yard off of Eckersley, I was sitting down in Northridge at the time, which 1988 is my the first of 5 glorious junior years.
Look at my guy
down at Cal State Northridge, and just watching it on a tiny TV and seeing it and not believing it. I was in LA, so that was a big deal. People going crazy, and I was heartbroken.
There's a bunch of them, but I think for all of us, similar to what you just said, you're a Cowboys fan, you thought you had it.
Gosh.
Like, there's a different journey for each of us with each team. The 49ers had won oodles of rings by the time I went to college. So it was
undefeated in the ball.
So it's like I can't, as much as I love that team, I was overly fulfilled before there was no like I didn't have a chance to get mad. Like it just popped out and Joe Montana's 7 years old.
Here we go.
Just win the Super Bowl every other year. So for me, and then the Warriors was a much longer wait until I was deeper into adulthood, and it wasn't much longer of a wait than the Giants, but at least the Warriors, I don't know. I was a big, Mitch, Tim, and Chris guy and all that. But I can still tell you the color of the ottoman, the position that it was on.
It was an ottoman game.
Who was sitting in my lap? It was my son. Everything is a total moment in time as Brian Wilson strikes out.
Man.
The last Ranger, and Buster Posey gets up and runs out to the mound for the Buster hug. Like, that was tears.
Man.
Like alligator tears. That was.
I get it.
And that was my 3-year-old son. He's now 17. That was my 3-year-old son looking up at me and being like, Daddy, what's wrong?
Right.
Daddy, what's wrong?
Normally I cry, Daddy.
Yeah, exactly.
That is, man.
So that for me is probably.
And did you know why you were crying?
Oh, yeah.
Just tears of joy.
Yeah. 35 years of, is that right?
Yeah, 35 years.
35 years
Shout out Bochy.
of loving that team. And think about, now this is probably why. Think of the near misses.
Yeah.
All right.
You were there in 02.
The quake.
Okay.
Yeah.
89. And then in 02.
The strike. What about the strike when you guys had 100,
Right.
Matt Williams was about to break the record.
106 wins and don't even make the playoffs.
103, no wild
I'm
card.
sorry, 103.
In 93.
Yeah, 103 wins, no playoffs.
Yep.
And then 02, Goo,
This is great.
I have a credential.
No way.
And I'm in the building and I'm sitting in Anaheim. Imagine the thoughts, and they're selfish, no doubt, but the thoughts that go through my head, it's not just they're going to win a World Series for the first time in my life.
Here.
I'm going to be in the clubhouse.
But he's going to be in there.
No, Goo, not I'm here. I'm going to get champagne on my face. I'm going to go be in it.
Oh, boy.
And I'm like, this is absurd.
Too good to be true.
What a happening. Nobody gets to do this. I'm going to get to have an experience that nobody gets. And then to watch that thing fall apart
Scott Spezio
was the slowest burn that I've ever emotionally felt, sports emotion, in my life.
That's wow.
It felt like 5
And Barry would have
hours.
they would have had it, but Barry would have just. Why did he give Russ Ortiz Dusty the ball?
Wow,
that is the most. Go. I'm listening.
That to me is the most overrated part of it because
it was symbolic though. It was Dusty saying, "We got this.
Fine.
Here you go." When he could, I'll give it to you later.
The fact that he had the baseball in his hand did nothing to the bullpen who couldn't get somebody out.
And they knew what we have now learned now because he has discussed it openly.
They saw that.
Rob Nen's arm was barely attached to his body. That thing was hanging there, but that was their process, and it had worked all year long. And so I do think there's something to be said sometimes for you get to the end, you go with what, right? You dance with the date you brought.
Yep.
So what did you do? What was plan B? Did you go to the visiting locker room?
My dude. Well, first of all, that was game 6. So it didn't end the series.
They shouldn't even show up for game 7.
I tell you what I did. I won't even bring up who was there when I got home.
Whoop.
And the person I was living with at the time, tries to do this is a bummer. I'm sorry. I was like, don't talk to me. Yeah. I threw something off of the wall.
Look at my guy.
And this guy's mild-mannered, dude.
Look at Angry Willard.
They lived up with it. They could get it tomorrow. I'm like, they're not going to get it tomorrow.
There is no tomorrow.
They're going to get their asses kicked tomorrow. And they did.
Apollo Creed.
And they did. I knew they would. It was over. It was over. And I felt like it had gotten taken from us.
Man.
Yeah.
It had gotten taken from us.
Yeah.
I love the topic today. Yeah. And as I was driving in, I was listening to a bunch of it, and the one that hit me on a game that I was actually at.
Give it to me.
And it's a game that will not live in infamy, but it was special to me. And I had looked up the date to make sure, October 3rd, 2012. One thing I did with my kids, my first 2, and I'll do it with my baby girl, is when you get to a certain age, you get one get out of school free card.
Love it.
A year. So 1 year, Quest decided he wanted to go to Santa Cruz with his uncle. It's like, hey, Dad, I want to go to Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk with Uncle Devin. Sure, use your pass. And so my younger son, Keon, I said, hey, the A's are playing the Rangers. It's game 162, winner take all. Do you want to go? And he said, yeah, Dad, let's go. And it was an inordinately hot day, and we got seats underneath the overhang on the first base line. We were in like the 37th row. And, being in our business, you don't often pay for tickets, but this time I went out of pocket. I got my son and I a couple of seats, and the A's are down 5-0, and you're thinking, oh, boy, this is kind of a bummer. And, lazy fly ball to center.
Josh Hamilton
saunters in, and, it's off the glove. And the collie, you know how the collie could get or used to get.
It jumped. I was listening to it on radio. Incredible, man.
Right here on 95.7 The Game.
No doubt. Going to do the night.
Exactly. Shout out Zachariah. Or don't. And so, that's one of those moments where, and it turned out to not, portend a World Series or anything else, but just that moment with my son. Yeah. And, we talk about sports and moments. Yeah. And, your son on your lap and, being with my kids at the 2010 World Series for the Giants and all the rest of it, the things that we're able to experience and share with our kids and our loved ones. It's incredible.
Willard, I do got to double back to you. You said who you were living with then. Yeah. I hope that you barking didn't end it. I
don't even know where that person is anymore. I don't even know where that person is.
No, it ended after game 7. When it ended. Yeah.
No, that was the end of it right there. Yeah. We broke up an hour later. Yeah, no.
He actually handed her the baseball on her way to the door.
I'm going to go Usher because I got a confession, guys, and it's on TV. Your boy's getting excited about baseball.
Good.
I'm looking at the Giants
Don't
projected
apologize
lineup,
for that.
but their rotation.
No, we did a whole
scares me.
thing on that yesterday.
I missed it.
About because Mark and I talked about it. And I'm a 2 on the scale of 1 to 10 in terms
that's
of
low.
excitement. It's
Okay.
February, and I told Mark we get closer to April.
All right.
I'm gonna ramp it up. But Mark felt like, and I don't want to speak for you, but I thought it was interesting what you said about like feeling like you have to apologize for your own excitement.
Now I heard that part with Grandy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
not
early.
just about baseball, but there is, and I hope everybody understand this. I'm not saying that you shouldn't feel this way, but the Giants fan base right now is toxic. It just is.
Shout out Britney Spears.
That's not the fans' fault.
Okay.
That's the Giants' fault.
No doubt about that.
But the fan base is toxic. And so if you are excited about baseball right now, or if you're even sort of intrigued by some of the signings or whatever, because I'm with you. The starting rotation right now is not.
Because
Not
the lineup though.
the lineup is interesting. I'd love to see one more. You know what I mean?
Not bad.
I'd love to see one more, but I'm not like I'm not.
They're not going to lose 100 games.
I'm not nauseous about the lineup. The starting rotation's not ready.
Okay.
It's just not. You can't.
Wow.
You've got 2 viable, like really good starting pitchers who won't pitch for a while in Alex Cobb and Robbie Ray. So what are you doing until then? And if you're throwing at me like Logan Webb and 4 22-year-olds,
That's what it is.
that's not okay. Oh, by the way, no, we got Jordan Hicks, who's never really been a starter. So there's just too many question marks there.
And it can get late early in baseball.
And I don't buy that they're done. I think they're waiting for the prices to go down.
Man.
Scott Boras versus...
What's going on?
Well, right, the teams right now, you're hearing them all. Isn't it interesting, the comments that are coming out? Not just Farhan, we're done. The Blue Jays came out and they were like, yeah, we could sign other people. Who you want us to cut? And then you're actually seeing players, Devers with the Red Sox, Judge did it with the Yankees, are openly like, yeah, roster's not ready, not good enough. What's underneath all of this is yet another chapter in owners versus players. And so the owners right now are trying to keep salaries down. The players are trying to keep as much flexibility and leverage as possible. And so Scott Boras is going to lead that charge with 4 huge names and sit here on February 22nd and be like, we're not blinking. And the teams are like, fine, we're not blinking.
But the game loses, man.
Of course it does. And so that's a very large thing to figure out. But I'm not buying that the Giants are just like, yes, we're ready for opening day. I'm not buying it at all. And if they're genuine with that, then they're up a creek again.
Wow,
because they're not good enough. But the larger point, the toxicity of the Giants fan base does make it so that if you're excited about Giants baseball right now, you sort of feel like you have to apologize to people for that. Well, and I just think that stinks.
Yeah.
And that's the Giants' fault.
I heard Bonte this morning with FP. They did a great job, but he put it best. I guess, Willard, I'm double backing again. I'm excited about baseball, not excited about the Giants, but I am going to watch every game and every pitch because I don't think they're as bad as everybody thinks they're going to be. The rotation is concerning, but this line, I go more of the hitting than the pitching. It's like, why would you do that?
More fun.
But when I look at this lineup, you got some professional hitters that have had some success, team success, and now I'm like, okay, let's see how it plays out. Why I'm down on baseball and proud of myself for coming back is what MLB allowed the Dodgers to build, and it's what my mother-in-law, the late, great Mary Brown, used to say this about our society. Son, there's going to be the haves and have-nots, and I used to fight her on, I know you're not saying you're frowning on the middle people, but when you say it like that, I don't want to live in a world where it's that. But that's what Major League Baseball has become to me. And who's going to watch a Dodger game and, okay, you win 8-4, like, almost, guys, where's the fun in that? Because you're in it. And I know the Padres are spending, the Yankees, but come on, Willard, this ain't.
Well, the spring training start was pretty funny that happened an hour ago.
Ain't nothing.
Before they got 2 outs, the Dodgers' 9th hitter hit a home run to make it 8-0, and there was 1 out.
We were here laughing.
And it's not anybody you've heard of. It's just like they're not even playing their guy. Shohei's not in the lineup. Freeman's not in the lineup. And you're just like, good God. Good God. But, listen.
I ain't going to focus on the negative. And they got this uniform fiasco going, Will. I know I'm a nerd. You're going to see something with your blue eyes this year with baseball where the uniforms look cheap. I'm telling, like, Fanatics is taking over them, and they can't even get some uniforms to what the hell? If you were a Niner fan, I'm all over. you couldn't get that beautiful white jersey that they wore in the Super Bowl with the patch. There was never a problem before. For whatever reason, Fanatics couldn't deliver or were out of the white, that material. So, Dibs, you can laugh and say, oh, Goo, come on, get a life. But we're about to watch cheap stitching on Major League Baseball. The players are mad.
Let me get this. You're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM and HC1 San Francisco, always live on the free Odyssey app, Twitch, and YouTube, powered by First NorCal Credit Union.
You'll see it when you see it. And you'll be like, whoa, Dibley on the back of that. You don't care,
I don't care.
No, you do. When you see it, you will.
I don't care. All I care about is when I look up at the TV, do I know who's playing without having to really work hard at it?
That's as far as he goes.
And that's where...
That's stitching, though, Dibs.
Shipping will take 2 to 5 days.
Right.
Hey, speaking of which, did your son get his gift?
Yeah, he showed up the day after his birthday. But I pumped up the company yesterday on the air because I emailed them and I said, hey, we love the product and it's here, so thank you for chasing it. However, when I bought it 3 weeks ago, it said 2 to 5 day shipping, and his birthday was the day before it came in. So I'm not walking away satisfied here. What are you going to do about it? And they gave me about a third of the money back.
Oh, wow.
So I was like, that's all. I wasn't asking for a refund.
Yep, customer service.
Asking to be acknowledged. And they did, so good on them.
I'm over worrying about uniforms and courts and all the rest of it because they're doing that to make money. And if they want to have bad stitching or cheap uniforms, all these people out there, consumers, they're going to buy it, and you're going to buy the new and the latest and all the rest of it. So I'm not bothered by it. I understand it. It's strictly business. It's EPMD.
I'm going to give you a 4.
Thank you, and that's the way that goes. And I just want to be able to look up and see, okay, I can see that the Dodgers, by the way, they've now scored 12 runs, and they're on their way to 20. And
every time I look up, they've got more
they
runs.
just scored a couple more.
Dave
This
Roberts
is like basketball.
You guys were going back and forth, and I was kind of laughing.
Somebody hit a 3.
You were talking about how the Dodgers had 6 runs before you even blinked an eye, and meanwhile, they're the third base coach. The third base coach has icy hot on his shoulder.
Yeah, their rotation is just it's embarrassing. That's all. I get it. Oh, and they might not win it, Willard. I don't want to be one of those guys.
But whose fault is that? Like when you say MLB let the Dodgers do blank.
The Players Association, everybody.
But the Players Association loves it. They love it. Like the Players Association, that's the strongest Players Association in sports. And you're not wrong. I don't think any of us knew you could do that.
Give me a salary cap,
no,
guys.
It's stupid.
Just give us a salary cap.
No chance. Baseball the Baseball Players Union would never allow it. They don't want that.
The Dodgers will fit right under it anyway. They're only paying them $1.
Well, that whole Ohtani contract. What was
that's the
genius?
The real banana. It was genius.
Well, they're playing within the rules.
The real point is that small cities have no chance in Major League Baseball, and honestly, in the association. It's very difficult in the NBA. It's made a little bit easier in the NBA because one star can really carry you. Milwaukee can win a title.
Just go in there with Milwaukee.
Milwaukee's
what about OKC?
They could try to win it, but what did they have to do to even get into this window? They had to tank for 5 years to get all these draft picks and to get to a spot where, you've got Shea and you've got, the big kid, Holmgren, and you've got a team now that might be able to win it, but there's
what do you consider Minnesota? I'm just curious.
Minnesota is a mid-market for sure. The big markets in baseball are always going to have the bigger edge.
Yeah.
And in the NBA, unfortunately, when you get to that spot, you can leave. Giannis is a unique case because, he got to the free agency spot and he could have left, but he chose to stay.
Something's still going on there with Giannis. I can't put my finger on it, but I just feel like in a couple years, he could be in another uniform, Willard.
I don't know. I'm sort of tapped out on. I feel like we've been doing that for 5 years already. You know what I mean? Do we have space for another Giannis rumor year? I don't know. I'm ready for that NBA player when it's actually like Dame Lillard this offseason where it's that's a thing. That's a thing. He's trying to move on. He's trying to flex his power. I feel like every time we do this with Giannis, we're putting the thought in his head as opposed to him putting it out there in the world. We're like, you're going to be mad at the Bucks, right? If you lose, right? You'll be mad, right? You're going to want out, right? He's like, I've never said that. I know he's been on social media before being like, wow, Warriors, Steph, that'd be fun. But who the hell doesn't think that? These guys all respect the hell out of each other. LeBron has said on the shop that he wanted to play with Steph. It's not going to happen.
I got you.
He's not going to play.
I want you two to hear some sound that was debuted on our show today. Evan, can you hit it for the guys?
Stop it. So what?
That was Bob Fitzgerald who joined us. And before he left, I brought up the 49er game. And he brought up why in the Super Bowl, Willard, if you're up, would you have anybody back to return a punt?
Stop.
And he said, he brought up the Kyle Williams, but he got me to he went on one, but that was him. Why would you?
Point.
I thought about
It's an interesting point.
Dibs, okay, you got it into 5, but it ain't a turnover. Like you're up 6 minutes left in the Super Bowl, and I'm not advocating, but if he's driving to the arena now, how would you respond to Bob Fitzgerald saying, pull everybody, you're up in the Super Bowl. Who cares if it's at the 10?
Well, my reaction is, Bob, stop stealing from me, because I said that a long time ago. I said that immediately. I said, if you're the 49ers and you have PTSD over punt returns, Kyle Williams.
Come on, Dibs.
I would never have a punt returner again.
Well, you started Bob's career, so I'm sure he
look
knows.
at you.
Actually, there's an interesting reversal about
Willard,
that.
I'll give you a 3.
I reached out to Bob to help start my career, actually.
You did?
Yeah.
Did it
Come
work?
on. Look at my guy. Bay Area Hall of Fame waiting. Radio Hall of Fame.
Did he respond? Wow.
Willard, but think about that. It has me. I'm
My
bothered that
headphones
I'm
cut out.
thinking about.
What'd you say?
What if I took it a step further?
I'm thinking about that concept.
Why the hell would I ever put someone back there? Forget it.
And you got the lead, and you're going to get the ball.
When's the last time you saw someone return a punt for a touchdown?
Man.
That would be Baltimore.
Okay.
Was that the playoffs or was that week 18?
No, week against the Rams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's
No, the
multiple
walk-off.
penalties on
When's the
that.
last time you saw
Multiple
49ers
penalties.
return a punt for a touchdown?
I got you, guy.
It probably was 19-7.
Yeah, I know. Bill Parcells used to scream at his punt returner, don't you ever let that ball touch the ground. I don't care where you are. You go get the ball, get underneath it, you catch it, get the hell off the field. I know field position is it's
taboo,
a big deal.
yeah.
But doesn't it feel, to Bob's point, and I'd never thought of it. I'm not like Dibs.
I didn't hear
never thought of it.
Dibs.
But it feels like a poor risk-reward play.
100%.
Like, every time Ray McLeod's back there, don't you hold your breath? I know what I do when I watch football. Raise your hand if every time someone punts to the Niners, the only thing you yell at the TV is, hold on to the ball! Don't drop the ball. That's the whole thing.
And you eliminate that.
I don't care if you return it 10 yards or fair catch it. Or
and half these dudes are fair catching it when they ain't supposed, so you got it at the 5. Hey, Johnny, why didn't you let it go in the end zone?
Interesting point.
That is, Dibs. If you had that one, salute. I hadn't heard it, and I'm thinking and they had the lead, Willard. I'll tell you what wasn't going to happen if you employed that. There would be no turnover. It would be a touchback.
Yeah.
There would be no turnover. And I'm not saying Fitz was right. There were so many plays in that game, but to him, he said that game was decided by that play. That's him.
Well,
but I can't argue anybody
that
from
was
saying
the turning point.
That was
no
the
doubt.
turning
That was the
point.
turning point of the ball game.
The only touchdown they scored until overtime. It's the only time they went in the end zone.
So if you don't have a returner back, you're going to be looking at starting drives from your own 1 and your own 2 a lot more.
Right.
If there's nobody back there. So I mean that is the downside, is you don't have the ability to fair catch it at the 10 or the 12, and starting at your own 1 or 2 or inside your own 5. It's very rare that you go down and actually get points.
But better than the turnover.
For sure.
Yeah.
And the ball could bounce the other way.
And somebody called in and said that.
It could land at the 20 and end up at the 30.
I just hadn't heard that.
And here's an idea. Coach your player to when the ball is, live.
Poison.
Just dive on it.
Oh, okay,
Instead of bending over to try to. So Ray's going to run after it. He's going to bend over and pick it up and do what with it?
You're right.
What
but
are you
they're
going to
such
do with
studs from where they come from and where they play.
I get it.
They think they can pick it up and do the.
You're talking about something that happens lickety split. He's literally screaming at everybody, get away, get away, get away. Next thing you know, like I'd argue,
It's like
it was
oil
actually
on the ball.
It's kind of like Johnny on the spot for him to even notice who that hit.
Oh, he saw it, yeah.
If it hits a Chief, he gets the hell out of the way of it. But he knew it hit Luter, and he's like, oh, hell, we got to get this ball. And next thing
I got to pick this up and make a play.
But it's right there. You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Yeah.
But
It was interesting.
That's a lot
I missed
to
Dibs
ask.
saying that.
It's a lot to
No
ask.
doubt.
Yeah.